Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I am really glad that you are here. This week, I'm talking to Daniel Snead, and we are going to have a really interesting conversation about a topic that I don't know that a lot of us really have put a lot of thought or research into, but I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation about some options for our kiddos as they get older that are more along the lines of non-traditional options because we are non-traditional people. So that's the conversation that I'm here to have today with Daniel. So yeah, go ahead, Daniel. So tell us more about you and what you do.
First of all, thank you for having me as a guest. I always appreciate the opportunity to be able to just share, my vision, share, my experiences and what I'm doing. But a little bit about me. Daniel Snead, and I'm based in Western New York. So it will be cold and snowy soon. Um, but I'm a coach and I coach young adults and teenagers and something that I've coined as social trades. So they are income generating social skills. And it is a ton of fun. I love doing it. And I love doing it because a lot of it has to do with my journey. Social trades are what have given me the ability to create a lifestyle that I enjoy, a lifestyle that I like. And with it's funny, a lot of my different quirks and needs I didn't really understand until recently, because earlier in this year, I want to say either February or March, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I didn't even need to get a diagnosis because once I started to do the research and kind of saw everything, it became abundantly clear without me having to go to a doctor that this is what I've dealt with my whole life. And it was very interesting because a lot of my marketing, in terms of what I was talking to parents about when it comes to teaching social trades, literally was all stuff that had to do with ADHD and neurodivergence. I just had no clue that that's
Um,
what it was. I just knew that I was dealing with the way that I think, how my brain works, and these skills. They put me in a position to be able to best kind of create the ideal situation that would allow me to be authentically me, but then also be able to create the lifestyle that I want, earn the living that I want, and things like that. So I've been coaching social trades with my academy, Best Bet Skills Academy, for just about 3 years now,
okay.
and it's been super fun. We're virtual, so we've got kids all over the country, and yeah, so that's me. That's me.
Awesome. It sounds like you and I have a similar journey in terms of our diagnosis. I was just diagnosed a couple years ago. So yeah,
Okay.
it's like we have a similar journey, and just like you, I've been doing this is my whole career. I've been teaching neurodivergent kids social skills. And so far before I was diagnosed myself, this is what I've been doing. So yeah, it sounds like we have been on similar paths. So
Right.
tell me more about um I really want to hear more about why this is important to you and why you feel like this is something that our kiddos really need and could really benefit from.
Absolutely. So it's important to me, again, going back to my journey. If if I didn't have the skill set that I have, um, I'm not sure where I'd be. I mean, early on, my, early 20s, a lot of job hopping, because get a job, get bored at a job, lose interest, and you don't want to go anymore. So you find a way into a new job, and shiny object syndrome was huge for me. And just and it's funny because I read enough to know and I understood enough to know at a young age that there was there was a way to create a living where you didn't have to go to a 9 to 5. I didn't understand why that was so important to me outside of, lifestyle and wanting to have my time. But I
Mhm.
didn't understand that for me, it was a lot to do with just the way my brain was wired. And I was literally just trying to fix myself, not say fix myself, but put myself in a position that was optimal for me to function.
Yeah.
And even early on, so I got married at 22, and I had these dreams of, and I would tell my wife, like, I want, different like services, like premium services. So, I want to have a house cleaner, that's something I want to have. And once I got diagnosed, I was like, that's why I wanted a house cleaner, because I just don't do this stuff because it
Yeah.
doesn't give me dopamine. I have no interest in cleaning, unless, you get those moments of hyper focus where you randomly at 3 in the morning clean your entire house in a rage of cleaning. Outside of that, it's not really my thing to clean.
Unless
And
somebody's
so,
coming
I
over
would always,
or yeah.
right, 100%, unless there's a motivation that's exterior, right?
Right.
And so this was who I was. And so my wife, it's funny, we kind of would clash because she would say, like, oh, I don't think these dreams that you have, it's too much. And, you want to be, you love money. And I'm like, no, I don't really necessarily love money, but I'm trying to make life easier for me. But I didn't know why I was trying to make life easier. I didn't know why, like, having certain services and, creating certain, situations was so important to me. And but once I got that diagnosis, it was like, oh, I get it. So, and even before ADHD, right? Because I've been doing this for 3 years. The biggest reason why this teaching these skills in the way that I teach them was so important to me is because I watch so many young people, and this is even young people that are not neurodivergent, that fumble, they flounder, they drift, they struggle because in many ways, not always, but in many ways, our education system is not serving them the best way possible. I sat down with a college recruiter. She's not a recruiter. She is a college admissions coach. And she told me that there are actually only 4 degrees in the bachelor cycle that are actually designed to put a young person or put anyone in a career. It's accounting, nursing, engineering, and there's another one that I always forget. But she said outside of those 4, every other bachelor's degree, the design of it is more or less to kind of grow your critical thinking skills. It's to grow your writing skills. It is not necessarily designed to say, hey, you're going to come out of here and you're going to earn this. However, in a lot of ways, that message has been diluted. And the message is when you finish college, you should be able to go get this job or compete for this job or be skilled enough to have this.
Right.
And unfortunately, in many cases, that is not the case. And so I watched so many people, and this is now people my age. So I'll be 36 in 2 weeks, right? And so to watch people um, go and get $80,000 worth of student loan debt for a career in some sort of bioscience or a history major. Oh, teaching was the other one that will put you into a career. That's the fourth.
I was gonna say, I think it's teaching. Yeah.
Yeah, it's teaching. Yep, that was number 4. It came to me, but yeah. So you have these people who they get these degrees, they don't find these jobs in these fields, right? And so they drift. They take these, I call them placeholder jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and they work for whatever they can work for. And then the one particular skill that I teach is sales. So many people eventually will kind of end up in a sales position. And because that's kind of my background before I started this, I was in sales and direct sales and things like that. You hear so many people say, if I would have known that I could have made this in sales, if somebody would have told me, I would have went straight into this right after high school. And I would have been in a great situation younger. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have had the debt that I have. I wouldn't have had the years of credit card debt as I, kind of floundered and tried to figure
Yeah.
things out. I would have been an earner immediately after high school. And so seeing that and watching, I'm a millennial and watching us kind of get to this place where the world is different than it was for Gen X. It's not the same place. We don't have the expectation of, spending 30 years at a job and then retiring. Now
Absolutely.
it's, you kind of got to figure it out. And so many millennials are jaded because of, the promises that kind of were made to us when it comes to education
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ended up being a fallacy. And so my passion is, and I really do focus a lot on earning. because I find that so many people struggle in life because of anxiety, fear, and stress surrounding finance.
Yeah.
And so many people, their issue isn't that they're not good with money. A lot of people's issue is they don't know how to make money. The best thing they can do is just trade their time for money, and they haven't developed high value skills. They have not developed skills that can earn them money. And so when you think about the kids that aren't going to be, they're not going to work with their hands, right? That was me. Like, if you look at my fingernails, my fingers, I don't get a manicure, but they're just pretty, right? Because if I had to work with my hands, I would starve, my wife would starve, my kids would starve. Like, that's not it, right? And then you have, obviously, your more traditional kind of like white collar things like that. It's like, if you don't kind of fit into those spaces, where do you go? And
Yeah.
again, so many people drift until they kind of end up kind of, oh wow, I found this place. But typically you're in your late 20s, early 30s by that time. You're drowning in debt. So even when you start to make decent money, right? There's so much money that's going to play catch up
Yeah.
because of the years when you were just fighting. And so my ultimate goal is I want to be a resource. I want to be a place where a young person can come in and they can they can learn earning skills faster. They can be earners quicker. So it's financial literacy through building earning ability, right? Because there are a lot of resources out there. I think financial literacy is finally getting the just due that it needs in terms of talking about your basic financing,
Mhm.
banking, and things like that. There's a lot of places out there that are teaching those things. But this particular space, the social skills that can earn money, there's not a lot of space for it. And so um, I love it. It energizes me. I love talking about it. I could talk about it for hours because these are also some of the highest earning skills. When you think about it, if you're able to network, build relationships at a high level, you're going to be able to get to where you want to go. You're going to be able to get in better positions financially. If you can sell something, you can be your own business owner. You can be an entrepreneur if you can sell something, or, I think about myself right now as I grow, what I'm doing. I need people to help me enroll students, to be a
Mhm.
part of my sales team. And it's so valuable if someone comes and say, "Hey, Dan, I see what you're doing. I want to sell," and I have experience. Matter of fact, a friend of mine I grew up with, we just had that conversation. He just recently started promoting my business through his social media, and today he just generated his very first lead. But it was so simple because his background is in sales, so it was easy for me to bring him in because he's got that training. And so I'm I'm passionate because I know young people want freedom. I know they want control. I know that Gen Z and Gen A, I think the next generation after Gen Z is Gen A or Generation Alpha. Um, they want to be entrepreneurs. They want to have control. They want to build lifestyle, but they don't know what to do it. Their world changes every day. One day it's NFTs. One day it's cryptocurrency. One day it's, be an online guru. One day it's an influencer. So there's so many things that they can do. A lot of times they get paralyzed because of analysis. So within my world, within my course, I've been able to get kids focused in and help them to leverage these skills and get them activated and show them, hey, look, like, the guy that your parents buy their insurance from, he's not worried about anything. He's got a skill set. He's got a business. He's not going anywhere, you know? And will it change someday? Probably. But right now, those are places that are pretty safe because, again, it's understanding how to leverage these social skills, social connections to get to where you want to go to. And I love it. I think I've said that 5 times so far. I love this stuff.
I think it's an interesting conversation because I was actually having a conversation with somebody a week or two ago about the whole bachelor's degree concept, and my take on it is I don't think colleges should be allowed to give degrees that do not lead to a career. And I have one of them. My bachelor's degree is in psychology. There is nothing that you can do with a bachelor's degree in psychology. If you want to do something in that field, you have to continue going to school. And so I
Yeah.
graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I was eligible for jobs where you just had to have a degree, right? Where they don't care what it
Mm,
is, you just have to have a degree. And so my first job out of college, I was a caseworker in the mental health system. And I remember this, my salary was $29,000 a year. Like I remember that and thinking, wow, like I have a college degree and I can't
mm.
do anything with this specific degree, and I'm making $29,000 a year. And they talk about teacher pay. I then went and got my alternative certification and became a teacher,
Okay.
and automatically had a pay increase. So even though
Mm.
there's so much said about the low pay of teachers, I was in a job that was even below that. And
Wow.
so I actually have two master's degrees. So I have a bachelor's degree, I have two master's degrees, and look at me now, I'm self-employed. Like I'm running my own
Hmm.
business. So I very much relate to what you were saying. I have student loan debt. I have 3 degrees. Of course I have student loan debt. And
Yeah.
I don't have, when I started my business, like I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I don't have sales skills.
Okay.
I don't have networking skill. I mean, I did not come into this with any of those skills. And it took me years to really figure out how to run a business, because I'm a teacher. That's my jam. I'm a teacher, but being a teacher
Yeah.
does not help you run a business. And so I
Right.
definitely, I mean, I'm everything that you're saying. I'm not a proponent of going to college just because it's what everybody else does, or just because it's what you're
Right.
quote unquote supposed to do. I think so many of my students, some of them are in the camp where they don't enjoy school. And so college is not an option for them because they don't enjoy going to school. So once they're out of
Yeah.
high school, they need a different plan, because
Right.
college is just not something that they're going to pursue. I also, I have kids who I I think there's so much emphasis on, like you had said earlier, we were fed that get a degree and you get a job. I mean, it's like this linear thing, right? You get a degree, you get a
Yeah.
job.
Yep.
But in what I do,
Hmm.
what's very real in what I do is that you can't keep a job if you can't get along with your coworkers. You can't keep a job
Right.
if things like anxiety are keeping you from getting to work on time or getting your tasks done.
Right.
You can't keep a job if you're not able to work as a team. And so a degree may get you a job, may being the key word, as you said earlier, it may
Sure.
get you a job, but that degree is not going to keep you employed. It's all these
Yeah.
soft skills, it's all these other things that actually make you much more employable than having a degree.
100%. 100%. There's a couple things you said that like kind of just they kind of make my antennas just go woo, woo, woo. And it's I'll start with the closest thing because I actually already forgot the first thing. But actually no, I remember. You talked about teaching, right?
Mhm.
So I consider teaching one of the social trades. And it's interesting that teaching is far, far, far underrated for the value that is in the skill set. And
Yes,
one of the
I
things I'm very meticulous about doing when it comes to teaching is separating it or just dissecting it from the the institution of what is known as our education system,
agree.
right? Because if you take that skill and just the skill and you remove it from the education system and you just look at it as, hey, I am going to help people and effectively show somebody how to go from here to here. How to
Mhm.
do, today you couldn't do this. Next week, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
That skill is actually so lucrative. But here's the thing, we don't call it teaching on the other side. We call it consulting. We
Coaching.
call it corporate
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
We call it coaching. We have different names for it. And that's really important. It's like, Daniel, that's semantics. But no, if you don't know, you don't know. If you like to teach people and you love being able to show people new things or being able to share information, and you're in a system that tells you, oh, you like to do that? Oh, you're going to go be a teacher. Oh, you're going to go make $55,000 a year, and you're going to work your way up, and, it's going to be hard, going to be tough. And by the end of it, you'll be around, maybe 80 to 90. And that's kind of going to be your cap. Like, that's who's going to get excited about that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole nother space you can go with teaching when you look at it as a skill
Mm-hmm.
versus the career inside the education system. And so I think about, I had a privilege of working with a lady who taught me how to basically take my idea, right? So I had this idea, Best Bet Skills Academy, and I didn't know how to take it from idea to actually a functioning online course. Well, I found
Yeah.
somebody who could teach me. And this lady taught me how to do it at a very high level. This lady makes over $500,000 a month teaching.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story that a lot of times our young people are not getting. They're only getting this canned stuff of, hey, you can go here, you can do this. And it's this messaging that is not empowering to them. And so, I think about going back to, okay, when you start to get to that point where, kids are thinking about what they're going to do after high school, you typically have this branch or this fork in the road where you have college, military, skilled trades,
Mm-hmm.
college, military, skilled trades, right? And you start funneling
Right.
kids out, right?
Right.
And so
And that's
it's
even
funny. And I was
high
thinking,
schools are graded on that. High schools are graded on,
yes,
picking
yes,
one of those three, preparing kids for one of those options, right? It's
100%,
actually part of their
100%.
accountability system.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about skilled trades for a second, right? Because I mean, skilled trades, I mean, if that's what you're cut out for, oh my gosh, especially now, booming. Great place to be. The demand is there, the value is there, the money is there. Like, go there. Boom. But here's the thing, right? Everybody's not going to go in one of those three directions. So what happens to you? What happens if you don't fit that mold? Well, in our society, you force yourself to go to one, which is what I did. I did 1 year of college. I got the partial degree is what I call it. And you get partial student loan debt and you get nothing for that. You don't even get, hey, I got the degree. Nope, I got nothing. I paid some money, I sat in some classes, and I didn't get anything from it.
Mm-hmm.
You got the military, which, you know, I I love veterans and I'm not against veterans or anything like that. But I know a lot of veterans who don't feel like the promises that they were made upon enlistment were delivered, right? Or delivered in a proper way. So you got that. Then you got skilled
I also
trades,
hear
which those
like
got,
for some veterans that their job skills aren't transferable. I've heard that too, that
yeah,
once they're out of the
yeah,
service, the job that they had in the military doesn't transfer to something in civilian life. And so I know there's lots of programs out there that are retraining people coming out of the military
yeah,
because they don't have transferable skills. Obviously, that's not the case for everybody, but I've seen a lot of posts and heard a lot about that lately. People coming out of the military and whatever they did in the military isn't a thing in the civilian world.
right, 100%. So again, you've got these three roads, and then you've got these people that try them and it doesn't work for them. They either wash out in the middle of them or they don't pick one and they kind of end up kind of drifting, right? So, and when I was putting this all together, I'm like, what do I call this, right? What do I call this kind of grouping of skills that I want to teach people? And I came up with social trades because when I looked at everything, right? Because it didn't have a name at first. It was like, hey, I looked at what I did for a living. I network, I sell, I teach, I promote, I lead people. I make content and I speak. I do those 7 things any given day, any given time. And that's how I create money. Whether it's through, I've had jobs where I've sold, I've had businesses where I've taught, all sorts of things, right? And the thing that was in common with all of those things, they were social. Networking, obviously, social.
Mhm.
Sales is social.
Mhm.
Teaching is social. Public speaking is social. Social. And I said, okay, well, we got the social part down, but my goal is to help young people make money. I
Mm.
am very focused, and I'm unapologetically focused on helping young people earn. I'm sick of seeing young people that are clueless and have no idea on how to go out and create some sort of value in the marketplace. And so
Yeah.
I said trades. I put it together, trades, because trades does not speak specifically to um the electrician, plumber. No, trade is literally just it's a word for commerce. It's a word for, hey, we're exchanging
Mm.
goods and services. That's what trade is, right? So now when you look at social trades, it's okay, social skills that allow you to go out and create money, to create income. And they are the most powerful skills. Man, could you imagine understanding that? And I'm assuming we are probably around the same age-ish. But
Yeah.
imagine if we understood these concepts in the beginning of social media, right? Because I'm assuming you're a millennial. Our generation, we were like, we were the guinea pigs for all of this
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
But we didn't know what we didn't know. But at the same time, people were promoting back then, people were selling back then, people were doing public speaking, all the things were happening. But we didn't have awareness of the skill set. We didn't understand how lucrative those skills were. And
Yeah.
again, the key word is skill, because anybody can talk,
Yeah.
anybody can promote, anybody can sell, but are you skilled? Have you developed skills? And that's a big part about my platform that I focus on. I was on the phone with one of my students yesterday, and I was in coach mode. And I told him, I said, you've got good information. And when you started with me, you got good information. And that information was so powerful that you just went and executed a little bit and you got some results, you got excited, but you never took the time to build skill. And we're having the conversation that we're having today because you didn't build skill. What I need you to do, I need you to come back and get in the trenches. I need you to really focus on showing up for coaching, because I do group coaching. And I need you to focus on building a skill, because skill is what you get paid for. You don't get paid for a moment of excitement. You don't get paid for, just being able to, execute on some information one time. You get paid when you do it so much and so often that you can't mess it up, that
Mhm.
you can't do it wrong. That's where skill comes from. And that's what, yeah. And so man, if you look at anybody that's successful, and think about it, people in your own circle, and if you're listening to this, the people they're all people that are using social trades at a high level and are very skilled at it. And I'm just pulling the curtain back for young people,
Yeah.
because there's no limit. There's Once you get this skill set and once you understand it, and I would venture to say, and I'll speak to neurodivergence specifically, it is very difficult to get an ADHD kid to do something that they do not believe in. I was
Absolutely.
him. I was him. But you give me a reason,
Yeah.
you give me a framework, you give me a why, I'll be your biggest disciple, evangelist, whatever. When you give neurodivergent young people a reason, when you give them a why, it is so much easier for them to enroll in your vision. And I think when you have traditional education, in many cases, again, we think different as neurodivergents, right?
Mhm.
We
Absolutely.
don't think the same. I've woken myself up out of bad dreams. I'm like, oh, this is a dream. I'll wake up. Crazy. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has done that before, but I do that often, actually. And so, being that we think that way, in 8th grade, I knew the Pythagorean theorem was never going to make me money. There goes the dopamine. There goes the excitement. And it's just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why? My
Yeah.
dad was a cop. He's never said freeze, ax plus b squared equals c squared.
No, and it's as much as my life kind of has revolved around the school system. I was a teacher, I mean, I am very enmeshed in the school system. I absolutely agree that I don't use advanced science in anything that I do. I actually love math. I don't use advanced math skills in anything that I do. I am very naive when it comes to history. It doesn't apply to my day-to-day life. So, I've spent so much time being a part of the public school system, but I just think we're teaching things that do not support our kids in having a career, in making money. I mean, it's kind of a circular conversation, but it's what we were talking about earlier about you get a degree, but you can't even do anything. You either need to keep going to
Right.
school or you end up in a job that just requires a degree with no.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working at PetSmart at one point when after I had a college degree and I moved to a new city, and I was working at PetSmart with a college degree, because again, I had a degree in psychology. And so I think there's all the, degrees in literature, and there's just so many degrees that I just think, how is that even ethical for universities to give degrees in things that there is nothing you can do with that makes money?
So watch this, right? Because again, we're talking to parents of kids that are neurodivergent. When's the last? And I asked the parent this question, and they absolutely they just looked at me, jaw on the floor. I said, okay, your kid gets an A, right? They come home, they took a science test, they got an A. You're happy that they got the A. You're excited. When's the last time that after the excitement for the A, you said, hey, tell me about that science stuff you got the A on? And they just looked at me. And she just said, oh my gosh, never.
Yeah.
I said, and kids pick up on that. They know that that this stuff is worthless in terms of what we say it should do for them, in terms of building a future for them.
Yeah.
So when you actually don't value the information and you've never said, hey, let's sit down together and let's go over that earth science because, man, I'm really interested and I think this may help me at my job. They notice those things.
Yeah.
And you've got a generation that is more connected than ever before. You can't just pull the wool over their eyes. They see this stuff. When we were younger, right, we didn't have smartphones in our hand all day, every day. We didn't have access to the information that these kids have access to now. So to a degree, we kind of had to believe what they were telling us. For the parents that are listening, your kids don't believe you. You gotta find value for them.
Yeah, you made the point earlier, Daniel, about the people that that are the highest earners, they're not working in traditional jobs. And it's the same for me. The people that I know that are the highest earners, it's interesting what they're coaches, they're consultants, they're speakers, they're doing things like that. And you mentioned the control factor earlier. That's I've been self-employed. Let's see, I started Starfish Social Club. It's been more than 7 years now, but when I started it, I was still in the public school system. Thank you. So I've been fully self-employed for 4 or 5 years now. And I have to say, I don't think I could ever go back to working a traditional job, because I have so much more control over my schedule, over my time. I just moved a few weeks ago to a new state. I mean, it was kind of a big move, and I've been having to adjust to that. And more so than I'm a really adaptable person, but I've realized this week that it's really kind of taken a toll on me. My schedule is,
Yeah.
my routines, my systems, everything has been thrown. And so this week, I've really needed time to just process and digest and kind of get myself together after this move. And I can't imagine stuff like that with a traditional job. So I think even for
Right.
my mental health, if there are days
Hmm.
where I'm not feeling well, if there are days where I just need some time, I have that with the way that my employment is structured now. Um, so I think even from a mental health standpoint, I remember when I was a teacher, in order to take time off as a teacher, you have to prepare lesson plans for a substitute. So you're doing
Right.
the work, whether you're at work or not. Either way, you're doing the
Right.
work. And so that one of the big mentalities in education is it's more work to not be there than it is to take some time off.
Right.
So I'm kind of
Right.
ranting now, but my point is, I think being self-employed, even though it was an accident, this was not my path for myself. I I feel like this path is so beneficial and healthy for me. Um, and it
Yeah.
is, I definitely am having to, all the things you were talking about, I've had to learn, sales strategies, because obviously when you run a business, you're selling, people
Yeah.
skill. I mean, it's like, you're absolutely right. It's all the things having to do with, to me, I think of it as interacting with other people, right? Sales,
Sure.
copywriting, marketing, networking. It's your ability to interact with other people. So yeah, that was kind of a long ramble, but just wanted to collaborate or corroborate what you were saying about that the
Sure.
people I know, and not that I'm in this to be the highest earner, but the people I know that have really financially successful careers work for themselves.
Hmm. Yeah. So I want to show something to your audience really quick, right? Because one thing that's really fun about this journey is it's funny. I was listening to a podcast say John Rockefeller said that problems are opportunities dressed in work clothes. And so one of my biggest problems has been telling the story of what I do, right? And especially when I'm dealing with parents that have social kids, right? So,
Mhm.
for example, I was a social kid, right? I played sports. It was weird. I was introverted, but then not. I was kind of like this hybrid. So, soft skills and social trades are not the same thing. And so what I hear a lot is parents will say, "Oh, my kid's so social. They talk to everyone. They're the life of the party, social butterfly." And I'm like, "That's great, mom. But do they know and understand how to leverage that social skill? And can they turn that into opportunity? Can
Yeah.
they turn it into money? Can they turn it into provision?" Right. And again, it's not all about money, but money's pretty important. And so, will soft skills enable you and help you to do social trades? Yes, they will. But I look at it like this, right? Soft skills are ingredients. You have your, empathy, you have your basic kind of communication, you have your manners, you have your ability to work in a team, and there's more soft skills. There's a bunch of them on the list, right? Your soft skills are ingredients. Social trades is the ability to cook. So your kid may have a bunch of ingredients, which I love that, like, I mean, I was a kid, I was polite to people, I was nice, I was agreeable, you could talk to me. But my first business failed because I did not know how to ask for a sale.
Hmm.
As polite as I was, as social as I was, I did not know how to get someone, and I say get, how to ask them to pay for something that they wanted. I
Hmm.
didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what close a sale meant. If you said, "Hey, did you close that?" I'd start looking for a door. So, soft skills and social trades are not equal. So, I want to make that distinction because I know that there was a parent up until that point that was listening and saying, "Oh, you know what? My kid is social. They do talk to a lot of people." But intentional networking and building a network It's not the same as being polite.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as being able to work as a team with people. It's not the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that, I just wrote a course called How to Job. And it's funny when you said that you worked at PetSmart, because I thought about this course I just wrote, I said, wow, the crazy thing is that many people don't even understand the opportunity they have at a job like a PetSmart. Because think about this, right? You see hundreds of people, possibly thousands of people a week. You have the opportunity to have their attention.
Mm-hmm.
In this day and age, attention is the number one currency on the planet.
Yeah.
If I can have your attention, I can influence you. I can get information from you. I can sell you something. I can find out who you know. I got to have your attention, though, right? So you're working that job. Who has pets? People who own businesses, people who are successful that are, W-2 earners, could be doctors, lawyers, could be, high-end executives. They have pets. These are all people that are going to walk through that store. They're going to walk through that store with their guard down. That meaning the CEO of the biggest company in town that has a dog is coming in to buy a chew toy. You can speak to them without going through their gatekeeper. You got them face to face. You have their attention, which other people wait months for. So
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to be able to engage people, have their attention, gather information, make connection with people when they have their guard down in a situation where they don't even expect people to kind of really, be interested, be willing to make a connection. What? You probably, if you had taken my course How to Job, you probably could have got more out of working at PetSmart than you did from your degree. And I don't say that in belittling the degree or the experience. I say that because we're not teaching our young people where the value is.
Mm-hmm.
The value is in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
In sports, if I'm a top tier, basketball recruit and I play small forward and every school wants me, and I say, I'll go to your school, but you got to bring my point guard because we got chemistry, we got relationship. Oh, that's a no brainer. We got a spot for him.
Yeah.
There are people that have made it to professional sports because they got brought along because they had a relationship. I tell my kids, I said, if you're the kid that's playing in the game because you built a relationship with the coach and didn't just show up and shoot shots or hit tackling dummies, but you built a rapport and a genuine relationship with that coach, and you're playing because he likes you and you got a relationship over the kid that doesn't, do you care that that kid is better than you and he's on the bench? You don't care, because when it's happened to you and that kid that you were better than was playing in front of you because somebody knew somebody, he never said, hey coach, you know what, honestly, I know we're cool, we're tight, but like John over there is better than me, so he should be quarterback, not me. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the real world. It doesn't happen in athletics. And so again, we got to teach our young people how to cook, metaphorically and literally, because you got to be able to feed yourself. But that's what I say to parents. I say, kids have a lot of ingredients, but kids and a lot of the young adults, they don't know how to cook. There's a lot of adults that don't know how to cook socially. They don't know how to put it together. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure it out. And there's one last thing that I want to tackle and I want to address. I said something earlier. I use a term, placeholder job. I use that term very intentionally because a lot of people, and young people included, they're working placeholder jobs, meaning they're doing something that they don't like because it pays the bills.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a high value skill like sales, you may not like sales, but if you can do it and you're proficient at it and you understand the psychology and you're able to execute it, I don't know. I'd say most people would rather make six figures selling cars and not necessarily love it, but it's just something they're doing until they figure it out. That's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to work at Starbucks while you're figuring it out. If you have a high value skill, a foundation of high value skills at a young age, it is a cheat code that is legal to use. You're not going to get suspended. You're not going to get slapped on the wrist because you use this cheat code. And so the foundation that a young person can have with social trades, I get so excited because I see the potential. I got one of my students, Juan. He's 22 years old. He was working as a barback when he started working with me at a comedy club, only getting 20 hours a week. He's now in sales at a job where there's six-figure potential. He has no student loan debt. The world is his. Matt just graduated from high school. I started working with him at the end of his junior year. Matt is crushing it as a photographer with senior pictures. He's a phenomenal photographer. When I started working with him, he didn't know how to sell.
Yeah.
He didn't understand how to sell. He didn't know how to network. He didn't know how to talk to adults.
Yeah.
I told him straight up. I said, when we first started working together, I said, stop relying on your friends. We're going to talk to their parents now. And I coached him on how to talk to adults, how to build rapport. Now he's thriving. He's done with high school. He's building a photography business, and he's not looking back. And he feels confident. He is taking on the world. Anna was a young lady who boomeranged. She dropped out of college, moved out of her home, wasn't able to pay the bills on her own, had to move back home. She takes my course. In 3 months, she leveled herself up into a high-paying sales job. She became the best person at that job, was actually teaching the people at the job how to sell. It was a newer company, and like a lot of people didn't have, she was teaching the managers how to sell. It was really awesome. She wanted to live in Hawaii. She worked, saved her money up. She moved to Hawaii. She's still there a year and change later. Almost in May, it'll be 2 years that she's been in Hawaii, and she's not looking back because they've got a skill set that has empowered them. Doctors, lawyers, regular W-2 workers, anybody with a job, the people that are there that have high value social skills earn more than the people who don't. The engineer who builds relationships, the engineer that he understands how to sell, the psychology. It's not even so much that you're always selling, but even understanding the psychology of sales and what to do with that. What? If you pay attention, and I'm inviting the listeners, if you start to pay attention to people in your circle that are earning the best, they're employing social trades, several of them in many cases, at a very high level, whether they're an entrepreneur or a W-2 worker, it does not matter. These skills will change the game. And that's why I'm so jacked up.
Yeah. So Daniel, before we go, do you have maybe one suggestion, strategy, piece of advice that you would share with parents out there who have kids who are maybe high school right now, or maybe even college age? Maybe just one thing that you could say that could maybe set them up to be more successful?
Absolutely. So again, we're talking to parents of neurodivergent young people, right? So the first part of the thought is don't try to push a round peg through a square hole. Okay. With neurodivergency, I would say begin to pay attention to where your young person takes massive action, right? Because no young person is really lazy. They just have things that they take massive action on versus things that don't interest them. And so if you have someone that, let's say skateboarding, massive action, you might think, oh, they'll never be a skateboarder or pro skateboarding. You're probably right on that. But skateboarding is a multi-million dollar industry. And I'm sure there's a place in there that they can fill and add value and create a beautiful living for themselves. So I would say, especially again, speaking to ADHD, autistic, neurodiverse parents, or parents of those type of young people, pay attention to where they take massive action.
Yeah.
Pay attention. I think there's so many clues in there, and start to unpack like, hey, like, okay, so you're a skateboarder, today I was, just during my free time, I spent some time Googling jobs in skating, careers in skating. And if you love skating so much, here are some careers that could be a good fit for you. Partner with your kids. Stop letting the system dictate how you parent them. Your kids are individuals. An elephant is not going to pass a test of climbing a tree. It's one of my favorite cartoons. I don't know if you've seen it before,
Yeah.
but it's all the animals, and it says your final exam is climb this tree. You got a fish in a fishbowl, an elephant, a monkey, and all this other things. It's just like, yo, there's it's not level. But
Hmm.
if you start to really do the work of researching and understanding some of the places where they show massive or where they take massive action, and coming into agreement with them and showing them, hey, this is how you can monetize, this is how you can make a career out of that thing. And I'll say this, so I coach social trades, I have a whole course, but you can learn all of this stuff without me. You don't need me. You can go on YouTube University and learn how to sell, learn how to network. Like, it's all there. It's all.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, the secret sauce to what I do is me. Like, I
Right.
love this stuff. I'm good at coaching it. But the reality of it is, if you can get your young person a foundation in these skills before they leave high school, especially a neurodivergent a young person, because here's the reality. If they've got this foundation of social trades and they're um was that we're competent in these skills, when their passions change, when their interests change, guess what? They could just jump right into the next thing.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in skateboarding anymore. Now it's all about, I don't know, production and video and filming. Okay, what can I sell in that space? Because I know how to sell. I can at least
Right.
get started and then branch out and figure out what I want. Steph, do you see how powerful that baseline skill set is?
You're
And
training for
so again,
skills instead of training for a job. You're training for skills. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
Awesome.
social skills, high value social.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Daniel, before we jump off, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
Sure. So the best places to find me are on YouTube at Best Bet Skills Academy. And then on social media across all social, I am Best Bet Dan, all one word. And all the links to like my websites and different things like that are there. You can schedule a call, you can talk to me. I offer my program as just a course. You can just get the course and take your child through it yourself. They can go through it independently. And then you can go through it with a full the full coaching and community. So yeah, I'm very easy to get a hold of. Best Bet Skills Academy. And thank you, Steph, for having me on the show. I appreciate you. And I want to help young people to create the best bet to having the life of their dreams.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Thank you for being here and thank you for doing what you do. So
It's a
to
pleasure.
everybody who's listening, thank you guys for being here and I will see you again next week.